The message came through just after sunrise, right as I was pouring my first cup of coffee. It wasn't from a persona, it was from my fuel monitor. Low levels. Critical. I blinked at the screen for a second, still groggy, then muttered, "Already?" It was only late October, but up here in the mountains, late October meant the nights dipped below freezing, and a dry fuel tank meant no heat, no hot water, and eventually, busted pipes and a very expensive plumbing job. My mountain cabin runs on a pretty tight off-grid system: solar, battery, and good old-fashioned thermal fuel. I'd placed the delivery order a week ago. The fuel truck was scheduled. Everything was lined up. Except for one thing. The HOA. Now, I didn't move to the mountains to deal with an HOA. I moved to get away from one. But the cabin I fell in love with just happened to sit inside a small development zone governed by a board of people who, for the most part, were decent. With one big, loud, micromanaging exception, Karen Ferguson, president of the HOA. Full-time retired tyrant. She wasn't elected, she just never left. People were too tired or too scared to run against her. She was the type who measured lawn height with a ruler and flagged your porch light if it didn't match ambient dusk settings. Anyway, my fuel delivery was blocked. The truck never made it past the entrance. I called the driver. He told me Karen herself had walked in front of his rig, clipboard in hand, demanding to see delivery authorization and accusing him of violating zoning protocols regarding environmental contaminants. Which is HOA speak for, "I don't like your truck." She refused to let him in. He showed her the invoice, the time slot, the license, even the EPA tax. She just said, "You're not on the schedule," and ordered the gate staff to turn him around. So I did what any mildly desperate man would do. I got in my truck, drove down to the gate, and tried to talk to her face to face. She was already waiting, like she knew I'd come. Clipboard in hand, lips pursed like she just bit into a lemon. "Karen," I started, calm as I could manage, "you blocked my delivery." She tilted her head like a judgmental parrot. "That truck is over the vehicle weight limit for non-construction deliveries." "It's fuel for heating," I said, pointing uphill. "I need it. Now. It's legal, licensed, and scheduled." She waved a hand like she was swatting a fly. "I didn't approve that schedule. You didn't submit the form in triplicate. And I saw your tank, it's larger than code allows." I clenched my jaw. "It's a standard 250-gallon tank. Same as half the homes up here." She smiled all teeth. "Not according to review," I said, Clause 11B, subsection D. As of last week. And that's when I knew this wasn't about rules. This was about power. About Karen needing to win. To control. To feel like queen of a tiny, frozen hill. I drove back to my cabin, fuming. The temperature was already dropping. The air smelled like frost. I had less than 48 hours before the pipes began to freeze. And with a cold snap forecasted for the weekend, it wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a real, tangible threat. So I called an old friend. His name's Mike. We served together years ago in SAR Ops Search and Rescue. Mike now flies for a private company that leases heavy-lift helicopters for firefighting and construction. "Need a favor," I said. "Fuel drop. Skyhook. Tomorrow morning." He didn't ask why. Just said, "Text me coordinates and payload weight. We'll make it cinematic." The next morning, I was up before the sun. I checked my watch. 7:45 a.m. I stepped outside and felt the sharp bite of cold on my face. The silence up here is usually peaceful, but that day, it was electric. Charged. Then I heard it. A low rumble, distant, but growing fast. My neighbor, old Mr. Kelly, came out onto his porch in a bathrobe and coffee mug and stared into the sky with a squint. What in the hell? It crested the ridge like a beast, dark, wide, blades slicing air with thunder. The Skyhook chopper. Flying low, carrying a netted cluster of sealed blue barrels beneath it like a metal stork delivering survival. As it approached my clearing, Karen came sprinting out of her house, phone raised, already recording. "You can't do this," she screamed over the rotor wash, hair whipping around her face like a banshee in a wind tunnel. You're breaking a dozen ordinances. This is aerial trespass. The helicopter didn't care. It hovered directly over my backyard landing zone, descended with surgical grace, and gently released the barrels right onto the drop mat I'd rolled out last night. The wind kicked up everything: leaves, dirt. The HOA sign that usually stood proud near the road, it all flew like confetti. Patio chairs toppled. Karen's decorative wreath took flight. Somewhere, a gnome shattered. The chopper lifted off again, dipped in what almost looked like a wink, and vanished into the ridge. Karen stomped toward me, red-faced, still recording. I'm reporting this to the FAA, to the EPA, to the HOA Ethics Board. I held up my permits. FAA-approved airdrop. Private property. No ordnance violations. Payload sealed and spill-proof. All legal. You just dropped toxic materials onto community land, she shrieked. On saw land, I corrected. And if you're curious, that's food-grade diesel. Same stuff farms use. She turned and stormed off, sputtering words like safety re-VYEW and emergency protocol. 2 hours later, I got a call from the sheriff's office. Officer Dan. He knows me. Hell, we play poker once a month. She's saying you performed unauthorized aerial operations, he said. I've got a folder full of paperwork, Dan. Want me to email it? He sighed. Nah, already talked to the pilot. He's got permits too. Just wanted to say, nice move. Word got around. By nightfall, half the neighborhood had seen the VY-DAO. Someone slowed it down, added dramatic music, even a subtitle that said, Operation Karen Evac. It went semi-VY-RAL on local Facebook groups. And the best part? People started talking. Quietly at first, then more loudly. One neighbor, Cynthia, knocked on my door that weekend with a pie and whispered, "Thank you. I've wanted to stand up to her for years." A week later, someone started a petition to re-VYEW the HOA charter. Another neighbor offered to run for president. I didn't plan on becoming some sort of neighborhood folk hero. I just wanted heat. But sometimes, standing up to the wrong kind of control opens doors you didn't expect, or at least blows them off the hinges with rotor wash. So yeah, I'm warm now. Pipes are safe. Cabin's glowing. And the fuel barrels? I lined them neatly along the shed, each marked with stenciled white letters that say, "For emergency use, Skyhook certified." If Karen walks past now, she doesn't say a word. Doesn't even make eye contact. And me? I sleep just fine. I've got heat, freedom, and a couple of friends with helicopters. Now let me ask you, if someone cut off your lifeline over a power trip, would you roll over or fly over? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Did I go too far, or did Karen finally meet her match? Like, subscribe, and share your HOA horror stories below, because the only thing more powerful than a clipboard is a skyhook.